Well, how you doing, Kelsey?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good, It's nice to feel like the day is ending and ready to just go to sleep.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes. Hopefully get whole 8 hours, so we'll
I know,
see.
whole 8 hours. I know it's like, crunch time now for everyone, like you and me.
Yeah.
It's too much, but
It's a lot,
it'll
but
be good. But, yeah. But with that being said, I know you're a senior, and I know we worked, again, for now this is the second year, and I feel like I got to know you better, and, I know, in the past you've mentioned a little bit about your hometown in Oregon. I was always wondering to hear a little bit more about your experience coming from the West Coast to hear, like, your overall college experience. I know you've been here now for almost 4 years already. I just want to hear more about your perception, coming from the West Coast to being here.
Yeah, it was quite the transition, but I think that I wanted to travel first, and then getting scholarship here at Georgian Court, I really wanted to see what the East Coast had to offer. And at first it was quite the shock because just cultural differences were kind of abrupt at first, but now I've kind of adjusted, and homesickness gets in the way sometimes, but I mean, overall I really, I think I've gained a lot as a person and just exploring different opportunities. I think I've grown a lot, and it's been quite the transition, but I think it's been worth it. I wouldn't take it back for anything, so it's been good.
It seems like it. You're so involved. You play volleyball.
Yeah.
You're an RA here. Yeah. What else do you do?
I used to be a student ambassador. Let's see. I don't know what else. I'm all over the place. Yeah.
No, I remember you said you definitely had a lot of experience, and I know you're also involved with, I believe, attending church. Am I correct? Yeah.
Yeah. I go to church about 20 minutes away, and then I also recently joined another church, which is about 5 minutes away. So.
Oh, yeah. Which church? What's the name?
Crossroads. It's just down the road, so about 10, 15 minutes away. So.
Yeah, it's convenient.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it.
I know you mentioned the cultural difference between here and where you're from in Oregon. Can you tell me a little bit about that? Some of the differences you've noticed while being a student here on the East Coast?
Differences in the people, or the...
What you've noticed in general. It could be the people, it could be, school aspects, anything that came to mind when you first came here.
I've noticed that the people here are very blunt, which I appreciate, because then you know exactly what someone's feeling, and, especially with, connecting with people or trying to even, make networks with people eventually for the long run. It's really nice to see, what they're thinking and what they think of you, even more importantly, if you're working with someone, for an internship or research or something. So that was quite the shock when I first got here, and just the accents, of course, for some people. It depends where they're from, but... and then I think that was the biggest thing, was just the people differences. But I thoroughly enjoy it. I mean, I like different cultures and exploring that. So, the people, and then I think also it's a very fast-paced culture over here compared to what I'm used to on the West Coast. So that was also something I had to get used to after a while. And but I also think that's just the college atmosphere too, kind of getting used to the always being on the go and always having something to do.
Right.
But I like it. It keeps me busy. So,
yeah, you're nonstop. I know that. It's interesting. You pointed out it was kind of shocking to you when you were first here, and you had that culture shock. In the how did you manage to adjust? What habits did you feel did you have to change your habits, or how did you, in other words, accommodate to this new culture?
Yeah, I think that being involved, like you say, I'm very, very busy, but I think that really helped me connect with the campus. So staying involved with different groups, I think helps. So Res Life with you, and with other staff members, and then also with athletics. So that aspect too, gaining more connections with my peers. And then also, I'm also a SAM member, so which is a student athlete mentor. So I mentor freshmen. And so being on that authority level, but also helping other people, I think has helped that full, well-rounded aspect that I can connect with the community. And so I think if I wasn't as involved, it would be even harder to because then you get, you're in your room, or you're not hanging out with as many people, and you get really homesick. So I think being involved really helped with that transition. But yeah, I think that's one way I really cope with it. Also, social media has been big, so like any kind of technology that I can connect with like my family members. FaceTime always helps, and Skype. So that was a big thing for me, is not trying to be homesick as much, but it's worked. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I could tell. Like, you're always bubbly and happy. It's always nice to see you smiling. So, around here, people need that once in a while, just to cheer up and feel inspired to, be active like you. So it's great to see that. I know, and like you said, you just mentioned that you keep in touch with social media with your family. How was that? What was that like for you at first, in the beginning, compared to now in terms of your interactions with your family?
I think it was a lot more consistent when I was a freshman. Of course, you want to call your mom and dad like at least, a couple times a week.
Or a day.
Or a day. No, just depending on the day. But I think that it started very consistent, and then like also it was hard to adjust at first because you're used to being able to like help out around the house or like go do something with your family, but you can only see them through like a screen, and that was kind of like tough at first. But now realizing that you can only strengthen those relationships through communication, that coming to that like realization over like the last 4 years has been important, to me at least, and for like my well-being, I guess, and to keep those relationships alive. So at first it was very consistent. Now it's like, like once a week, call your mom, dad, and then it makes, it helps that relationship grow too. But now it's more of a like realistic, okay, I can only, bond with them through communication, not going and doing something or something like that. But then it makes the holidays even better when I go home and visit. So.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, you're in the moment, you take advantage of being with them and squeeze them. And
Lots of hugs.
Lots of hugs and kisses. And, cherish those moments. Do you feel like, being a senior, graduating, concerning, depending on where you end up or decide to go, actually, maybe we take it back. With being a senior now, do you have a certain direction that you're hoping to go, like in terms of relocating or going back home? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I definitely realized after being here that I would like to be closer to family. So although it's helped me in a lot of aspects to be away from family, because I've got to grow as a person more, I think, I also miss them a lot. So I'd like to go home after this year and, start my career process and build with something in my field, and just stay home at first, like for that year, and then eventually, move out and move on. But I'd like to stay on the West Coast. I think after you move away, you really appreciate the things that you miss. So like, I love hiking, I love being outdoors, and that's what the West Coast offers. But of course, the East Coast does too. It's just different.
Totally, I understand.
Yeah, but it made me miss home, and I think that it's been good here, but I want to go back eventually and be with family.
So with that being said, you're kind of considering like your future in terms of, whether or not you might be settled down by a certain time, and considering that along with your career. So I know you mentioned, from last year until now, what you're studying. What are you aspiring to do once you graduate? What are you kind of hoping you could start your career in?
Yeah, I majored in biology, like as you know, so I want to pursue environmental science. I also miss them a lot, so I'd like to go home after this year and, start my career process and build with something in my field, and just stay home at first, like for that year, and then eventually, move out and move on. But I'd like to stay on the West Coast. I think after you move away, you really appreciate the things that you miss. So like, I love hiking, I love being outdoors, and that's what the West Coast offers. But of course, the East Coast does too. It's just different.
Totally, I understand.
Yeah, but it made me miss home, and I think that it's been good here, but I want to go back eventually and be with family.
So with that being said, you're kind of considering like your future in terms of, whether or not you might be settled down by a certain time, and considering that along with your career. So I know you mentioned, from last year until now, what you're studying. What are you aspiring to do once you graduate? What are you kind of hoping you could start your career in?
Yeah, I majored in biology, like as you know, so I want to pursue environmental science, and there's a couple different directions that I'm looking at. One is like fish and wildlife, which I did an internship this summer on, and then maybe even like in sustainable agriculture too. So those two are my focuses, I guess, right now. And I've also noticed, like we were talking about earlier with location, that they offer that a lot. It's the emphasis of like the environmental sciences are very heavily, advocated for on the West Coast. And I know they are here as well, but I think that there's more of a like drive and like calling for people out there to do it. And so that's kind of what's making me want to go back home too, is that I think there's more opportunities for me. So I'd like to be involved in like research or just helping make the planet a better place. That's my end goal. So
That's so sweet. I know. So sweet. That's why you're around. I'm just kidding. But it sounds like you kind of understand where you stand basically in terms of, from here you definitely are adamant kind of being closer to home, and it at the same time does work out for you that you have opportunities for jobs located near your home and family.
Yeah.
So that's good because it's not always easy for people. I know for me, just to disclose for you to understand, with my profession, with student affairs, it depends on what you're interested in. So with that being said, what I'm interested in might not always be where I would like to be located. So I might have to relocate to California.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Right? That'd be nice.
Yeah.
But I can understand where you're coming from, like, future, where you want to be. So
Yeah.
I can relate to that.
Yeah.
But it seems like, you got everything handled. And, like, I'm curious to hear from your perspective with all that you're involved in. What's your technique, if you will, like, of managing your time here, being as involved as you are and managing to graduate?
Yeah. Sometimes it's managed more often than others, but I think that honestly having a planner and like writing things out for me is the biggest way that I manage it, because then I can see what I have to do each day. And I know for a lot of people that works and a lot of people it doesn't, but for me that's like the one way that I can, breathe, is seeing what I have to do and like when I have to do it. So that's a big thing. And then also, although I'm slowly learning it, I think also allowing myself for personal time is big. So I think I get really caught up in, like what I have to do for, I guess it is for myself, but really for like my classes or for other people if I have to mentor other people or whatever the case is. But I think that learning that I have to like give myself some me time and finding that balance is big, for the overall balance of like figuring out what I'm doing in my life. So.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's still like a process for me as well, just to figure out like, social or personal and academic. It takes time. It's not gonna come easy to anybody, but you will get there. Have you ever had a moment here that you struggled with time management? And if you did, like, how did you overcome that challenge?
I think definitely during finals time is the biggest thing. I think that's a time where your personal time kind of goes out the door and it is all focused on studying, getting papers done, whatever the case is, whatever you have to do. Finals is a huge time management time for me, to kind of like get my life together. Especially if I procrastinated on, certain classes to catch up on other classes, then it's kind of a hard balance to solve. But I think this semester I've been a lot better about like being proactive and getting things done like a week ahead of time and then not having to worry about it. And then I can focus on more studying, rather than doing assignments. So I think that's been a big thing that I've been really focusing on this semester, and previous semesters I haven't been as much. So I think that's a way I've kind of overcome it and kind of planned for the future, I guess.
Like I said, like whatever works for individuals. You kind of find that little niche of, all right, this doing it a certain way like this, or taking a 5-hour break and then working X amount of hours. Like you said, finding that balance. And I know you mentioned like having some personal time, and I do understand you also are involved. You have, in a relationship with somebody for quite a while. How does that, being in a relationship with someone, how does that impact your mode of thinking with where you would like to be with your career once you graduate?
That's a tricky question. I think it's very heavily influenced, especially since we're serious. I think that where I'm located, we ideally like to be on the West Coast and like, you know, moving on in our relationship together and like progressing. I think we definitely don't want to be long distance anymore. So
It's been a while.
It's been a while, 3 years. So I think like moving back towards the West Coast to be closer, but then also to like advance in our careers together. We've kind of decided that I'll be like following him in his career, and then also because where I'm at right now, there's a lot of opportunities, but there's also like finite opportunities. So I have to figure out like what kind of works for me in the area that we go to, and that's in consideration for both of us. So we're working it out, but I think the biggest influence is like kind of making sure that, you know, we can end up close together. So looking at jobs to help me like network and then eventually be able to, I don't know, be in the same places. What's kind of the ideal right now, but it's very heavily influenced, I would say.
And how do you feel about that, being in that type of situation?
It adds a lot of pressure, but I think it's also a good thing too, because then it kind of makes me like sit down and figure out what exactly I do want to do and where to start looking for those jobs and to kind of know what locations offer it. So like if, you know, say we're going to like California and none of those jobs offer what I'm looking into, which is not the case. But then it's something for me to consider and for him to consider too, which is nice. I'm very blessed because he's very understanding with that. But it can also be frustrating because maybe it's not a place that I want to go to.
Right.
And so we've also talked that out, and like it's a mutual thing. It's not just like we're going here and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's something to discuss, but I think there's a lot of pressure and frustration, but I think it's in the long run, it's going to be, you know, a good thing. So
it'd be worth it. So
yeah.
Like you said, it sounds like you both have a mutual understanding of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and the key, as you said, from this whole conversation is communicating with your loved one, communicating with your significant other.
Yeah.
So it sounds to me like you have everything kind of, you know, set for the most part in a way.
Trying to.
You're managing
Yeah.
well, and I can totally tell, you know, being again working with you now for almost 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely see progress from you, like just managing your time with school and personal life, and
Yeah.
I feel like you definitely have a great hold on your future.
I have good influences in my life, so good people I surround myself with, so it's good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Hopefully we continue that for you
Yeah.
before you leave us.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you talking to me and having a little chat with me.
Of
Catch
course.
up.
Yeah.